Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Good morning. Welcome back for Winning on Wednesday. We're live from Austin, Texas. It's 9 a.m. on Wednesday. You know what time it is. What is up, my man, Joe Campert?
What's going on, dude? That intro is actually perfect for where I just was this past week or weekend. I don't know. It felt like a week, but it was a weekend. Them poker chips, baby. No, man, I'm doing good. Back in the office. Good to be back. We were just in Vegas for the. It was, man, I'll tell you, I think we broke some rules going Vegas Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then got home late Monday night. But definitely had a blast. It's good to be back in here. We got a workshop going on out front. I'll highlight that for you guys here in a second. But that's definitely my weekly win. Going to Vegas, man, we got to hit up March Madness and got to see some cool games. Arkansas, unfortunately, just got absolutely blown out, but the UCLA Gonzaga game was awesome.
Yeah.
Took a couple friends with us out there. The wives went to Taylor Swift. I got brownie points for ever, I guess. Because it was the best night of their lives is what I heard.
A 3-hour show, I heard, something like that.
Dude, 3 hours and 20 minutes and 15 wardrobe changes. And I was like, that's why I didn't go.
Wow.
Because I would not be able to stand that. But no, it was a great time with some great friends, and now back in the office grinding, finishing out the month, man. So doing good. How about yourself?
Man, doing fantastic. Been holding down the office here while you were gone, having fun. And I would say if there's a weekly win for me, it's collaboration. There's a lot of people that we've been collaborating with. We got one of those collaborators in the office today. Josh Young's the Medicare Machine. I'm sure you've seen him out there. He's hanging out in Syndicate HQ today. We're actually doing a small workshop with a handful of agents, helping them learn how to stuff their pipeline with more and more Medicare prospects. So looking forward to that. We definitely got a packed day today. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, we do. It is. It's going to be awesome. Hey, real quick, y'all, if you could, it's in the description of this video. Just let StreamYard view your comments. Facebook user, we'd love to get your name up, just like everybody else. So just click it real quick, and it allows us to get you broadcasted on the show. And real quick, because I know we've got people up there, I wanted to, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to mute myself here.
Ooh. We just took the whole podcast to another level.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you just fine.
All right, good. We're going to go check out this workshop real quick.
All right, there we go.
Sorry if you're looking at my chin.
Well, it's
so here's the bulletin.
That is our monthly office.
All right, here we go. Workshop time. We're live in the syndicate. Everybody say what's up. Whoa, that way. Hello, what's up, Grace? Andrea. What's up, everybody? About to teach everybody how to fill their pipeline in 90 days with Josh Young. So super excited. I know Tony's going to talk about some seminar marketing and stuff like that. So just want to give you all a quick highlight, and then now I will switch back to the other camera.
We are all the way live here in Austin, Texas. We got multiple cameras. We got movement. Come on now. I can't wait till we get the real studio set up and we're in one room, one frame. It's coming soon. We promise. That's going to be a good time. So you're muted at the moment. I can't hear you now.
Oh,
There you
Shit,
go.
look at that. Dude, I just pulled a pops on everybody. All right, y'all. Well, hey, with that being said, I am super excited for that studio, and we've got an awesome workshop going on here in Syndicate HQ. And speaking of awesome, I've had the pleasure of getting to meet David. Really, it's been a year because I got to meet him at 8% Virtual last year, where we got to share the stage. He brought the heat. And really, gosh, since I've met him, the strides and everything that he's taken and just this business that he's built in a very quick period of time. So without further ado, y'all, let's give a nice little warm welcome to my man, David Price. What's going on, man?
Going on.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me. Appreciate the kind words, man. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. It is good to have you. I love the background stuff you got there. I see you. Obviously, you're a superhero fan. You got some Captain America, little Iron Man, some Thor.
That's it, man. I always wanted to be special. I always want to be a superhero. I still want to be Iron Man, so just still working on it,
You are the fastest millionaire in the insurance industry, so that's a superhero feat in itself.
Yeah, I think he's like billionaire, though, so I got to step it up a little bit. So,
well, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know most of the people out there in Facebook land, they should know who you are, and they should be following you. If you're not, you definitely need to wake up and start following this dude. He is the fastest growing millionaire in the insurance industry. He's definitely here to lay some stuff down. So if you don't mind, just kind of do a real quick introduction of yourself. Let everybody know kind of, 30,000 foot overview of who Dave Price is.
Yeah, I like to start out about, where I came from. And, I had very humble beginnings. I was born in New Jersey. My parents got divorced before I could remember. They're also addicts. So I grew up in a household of addicts. Homeless shelters, lived in the projects, lived in a single wide trailer with way more people than should be living in a trailer. And I like to start with that kind of stuff, man, because I just don't want people to disqualify themselves. I know one thing is I used to look at people when they were successful when I wasn't, and I would always disqualify myself. Like, oh, they grew up with this, they had the right parents, they had the right teaching and stuff like that. So I always like to start with that. And I used to look at those things like it was something that happened to me, and I realized it happened for me, right? I give a lot of my success because of my childhood and because of the struggles and stuff I had to go through. So always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My grandfather was a business owner, and visiting him was like a whole, going from the projects to like visiting him was like two different worlds, right? They had 3 meals a day and they're all cooked and we had matching furniture and nice bed sheets and all those things that I wasn't used to. And so that to me, it was like, all right, cool, be on welfare or be a business owner. Those are the two options that I really knew about. And so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I thought, if you're a business owner, you just automatically made it. And I owned a few different businesses, and I didn't automatically make it, right? They weren't as successful as the insurance businesses. I would say not all businesses are created equal, right? Selling donuts at a donut shop isn't going to be as profitable and as easy as the insurance industry. We're definitely in the right industry. And, tried a bunch of different things. And, I ended up struggling with some drug addiction myself, and I moved to Louisiana to run away from that. And I did get clean in Louisiana. I was out there for about 7-8 years, and I grew up by the beach in New Jersey. And I was just so used to being by the beach, and now I'm in Louisiana and they don't have a beach. Even where the water is, there's no beach there. It's like marsh or oil rigs or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. So it wasn't what I was used to. And I just got tired of it. I was, in like my mid 30s, and I was like, dude, like it's time to reinvent myself. Right. At that time, I was doing pretty well. I had a construction company. I was doing pretty well, but I was like, dude, I got to find something that's going to let me do what I want, where I want, how I want. And what I'm doing now is just okay. Right. This isn't the life I dreamed about as a child. This isn't the life I wanted. And I just started looking at different business opportunities. I was looking at some different franchises. I thought about moving to Florida and open a gym. One of the prerequisites was to get by the beach. Right. So Florida was my target. One of my mutual friends said, one of our mutual friends was killing it in insurance. And I always heard insurance was a good business to be in. So I went talking to him, and, when I looked at insurance, where I think a lot of people, they look at insurance they want to be an insurance agent, where when I looked at the opportunity in front of me, I was like, all right, cool. Can I build a business that will let me do what I want, where I want, how I want? So from day one, I always looked at it as a business. And I think that's something that I did different than a lot of people do in this industry. So got my license with the I don't know anything attitude, right? Even though I felt like I knew a lot of things about business and other things growing up, I wanted to pretend I didn't know anything because I needed to learn as much as I can, as fast as I can. and got my license. Started as a field agent on an 80% contract. I'm so glad I didn't go on a Facebook group because someone would have talked me out of the opportunity. Like, oh, don't start at an 80. Don't do this. Don't do that. You need all this, and I probably would have talked myself out of, where I am now, or let someone else talk me out of it. One of my pet peeves, right? And started on an 80% contract as a field agent, selling final expense with the idea, like I was the price group at that time. I was just the only person there, right? I didn't have anyone else. And, for 6 months, man, I really struggled. I didn't make a lot of money. I was learning. I started getting really impatient. And then I almost quit. Hurricane Michael hit the panhandle. Had all these contractors call me up like, hey, we're going to work. I knew I could have made a ton of money there really easily. And I got real with myself. I said, listen, if I quit now, I can't say I started because it's only been 6 months. And I realized as long as I keep looking at every other opportunity out there and keep talking to every other insurance agent from another company willing to talk to me and tell me what they're going to offer me, I had no chance of being successful. And that's when I put my head down. Over the next 6 months, my agency hit $100,000 a month without me. That was basically the last time I ever wrote a piece of business. I did one on my stepdad, I think a couple years ago. And from there, almost every single month and every single week made more money the week and month prior, and agency grew from there. So it's definitely been it's been a lot of fun.
It grew to what? Let's shake.
How many people you have on your crew?
Yeah.
So we're bringing on about 50 a week now. And that's 50 licensed agents ready to write business, not 50 people signed up for the course. So bringing on about 50 a week. That number continues to grow. Last week was a record. This week looks like it's already going to be a record again. As far as issued business right now, all final expense are at $1.3 million, 1,348, right? So like 150K from 1.5 million, and that's 1,602 issued insurance policies, right? So that's protected families. So really, really proud of that and the team and stuff like that.
For the month of March.
For the month of March, yes, just a month.
Guys, I had to clarify. Everybody, you guys, it is for this current month.
Yeah, that's not year to date.
Yeah. This is my fifth full year as a licensed insurance agent, which is pretty amazing. But we had a great team, and I just feel like as long as you always put your agents first and always do what's right for them, you can grow and do whatever you want in this business.
Right. Let's go. So I want to go back to, because you talked about the 80, right? And you're right. I see this and all. Now it doesn't happen in Syndicate, but it does happen in pretty much every other freaking group. And I make sure it doesn't happen. I say, hey y'all, I'm just saying right now, you are allowed to give your opinion, but I don't want none of this bashing, saying this, and this. And but I want to go back there because what I see a lot of the time is people are, it's about finding the right fit for you. So I think, you say, hey, put your agents first. Right. You also need to think about what is putting yourself first when you're right out the gate. Right. And not hey, if this is what I feel, I've done my due diligence. Right. And this is, I want to be a sponge, and this is the route that I'm going. And I feel as though this is the right opportunity for me and my business. That's like, it's crazy to me how many people will just change, or they'll drop their values or something like that just to go change. Now, for me, I'm at a high comp, but my model's different. I'm not in that final expense space, and I'm not your typical life insurance guy, right? I'm a PNC dude that's slinging life on the side, that's cross-selling and stuff like that. But that's what works for us. And I think so let's kind of stay there a little bit. Somebody who's getting in, or somebody, really, what did you do to really kind of take those steps where it is, or was it, hey, maybe it was before the forums and it was like, hey, I didn't know any better, and I went this route and it's what I thought was best. Maybe give some points and some like tips, tricks, whatever it might be, to where new agent coming in, right? They're trying to choose what are some things that you sat down and went through that kind of helped you make that decision? Because it's not a one size fits all, guys. I mean, it is how it is.
Yeah. So I wasn't in any Facebook groups or anything at the time. And, I always tell people you want to pick the mentor over the company. Right. That's a big one, because, the carrier I use is Senior Life Insurance Company, amazing carrier. Working with me might give you a completely different, experience than working with somebody else. Right. A lot of times people in this industry, they join someone who's really part-time, and they can't get in touch with their mentor. Their mentor is slinging vacuums or something like that. Right. So you want to make sure that, to me, there's two things I was looking for. One, I was doing disaster work before. And the reason I did disaster work, when there was a hurricane, there was more work than the local people could handle, right? So what is that? That is leads. That's why I look at it, right? That's leads. Before that, I was repoing cars. I was working for a guy. He paid me 40% of what he made the company. The guy gave me like 30, 40 cars a week to find. I would never find every car he gave me. Leads, right? We were looking at a demand that couldn't be met. Good place to be in when you're in commission. So when I was looking at business opportunities, the biggest thing for me is like, okay, what's the demand? Like, what's the problem that I'm solving? So when I looked at the carrier I worked with, I was like, all right, cool. Where do you find your people? Do you have more people hitting your advertisements than your agents are handling? That was the most important thing to me, right? Because that's solving a problem. And if you're not sure you want to solve a problem, a lot of people will be like, I want to sell mortgage protection. I'm like, oh, great. Do you have a surplus of mortgage protection leads that you'll be able to? No, I don't know how to get any mortgage protection leads. Well, why do you want to sell mortgage protection then? I just do.
Right.
Okay, but that doesn't make sense as an entrepreneur in my eyes. Like, if someone's like, hey, listen, I can teach you how to make millions of dollars selling volleyballs because we have the phones ringing off the hook and we just need build a sales team to get these volleyballs out, I'd be selling volleyballs, right? As long as it's a good product and it's at a fair price and you're taking care of people, I'm not too stuck on the product, right? I'm stuck on solving the problem. The next thing is mentorship. So the person I joined, I looked at him, I stalked him. You know, he was a regional vice president. That was the title at the time at the company. You know, looked like he was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Looked like he had a team. Looked like he had a track record of mentoring other people and helping other people, right? So those are the two things. I needed the leads, the demand, and I needed the mentorship, right? Because at the end of the day, like all the other stuff details to me doesn't matter, right? If I need to start on a 40% contract and you're going to show me how to make $1 million a year, like I don't like none of that stuff matters. You know, one of my pet peeves was someone asked me, you know, in some of my Facebook ads, like, what's the lead cost? Like, I didn't want to answer because if that's literally your first question is what is the lead cost? Because that number by itself means absolutely nothing.
Correct.
Right. I was like, if I said $2, would that be better? He's like, yeah, of course, $2 is better than $30. I was like, how do you figure? Like, okay, here's a phone book. Here's a bunch of free leads for you. Like, is that the best answer? Because there's a lot more to a lead than just the cost of it. That's one small picture. You know, how is it created? Is it exclusive? Is it direct? Is it a bait and switch? Right. There's a lot more details into it. But at the end of the day, what I like to focus on is like the person's having the results and has the time to teach me how to get the results. And has leads for me as well, right? You know, I heard sometimes people join somebody, but like their upline's still running a ton of business and they take all the local leads in the area. So that person's got to figure out how to get leads on their own, right? Again, in a situation I wouldn't want to be in.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. I love the way you said that because I see so many people that get stuck exactly on that cost per lead, right? Where do I get my leads and cost per lead? But the truth is no. Is the demand in the marketplace there? Right. You should have no problem getting leads. You can find them just about anywhere if you're smart. But the key is not in the cost per lead. The key is ultimately in your cost per acquisition and then ultimately your long-term value that you get out of that client. And if you know what those two numbers are and you know you can print money, right, doing the math, if I know my CPA is $150, but my lifetime value is $1,000, I'm going to flip that number as often as I can. Who cares how much the lead costs? Doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Right. It's just crazy to me because like on the property and casualty side, let's just take an average of like 15% new business, right? So like even if I'm paying out 90%, it's like 13 and a half points. But it's like we just don't have the margins for people to be hopping around and moving around like that. And Tony, I'm sure you've seen that in the Medicare space, right? Where people are like just going and chasing it. You know, and I think, you know, everybody that's listening, that's also when you're talking about mentorship and find the right freaking groups to be in too. Because I will say, David, you're right, man. There's all of the large groups I see out there. It's just like, I mean, it's crazy. It's my new favorite thing is everybody's got this commission breath, man. And it's like, even if I'm at a 40% comp, if you can show me how to make $1 million on a 40%, right? And obviously you're not going to stay at a 40, but still it's like, it doesn't matter. The 40% doesn't matter. I never knew anything like this until I started kind of dabbling and playing in the life insurance space. And I was like, damn, like it's freaking savage out here.
I certainly can't speak for the PNC side, but yeah, it's real prominent in the life space. Like I look in these life groups and anybody will come in and say, hey, I'm at a 40 or I'm at an 80 or I'm at a 60 or I'm at a whatever. And the next thing you know, you have all these other guys that rail on them, right? And tell them they're in the wrong opportunity just because they're looking at it from the comp state. and they're not looking at it from all the other aspects that Dave's talking about here in regards to the mentorship, the opportunity, the demand, everything else that comes along with it.
Right. So then let's talk there on that, David. Is that because I want to hear? So with all these people trying to hop and people bashing, blah blah blah. What is it? I want to build a team, right? Say I want to build a team, and I'm trying to get to 50 licensed agents a week. Let's remove comp. Let's remove company. What are those things? Obviously, mentorship and the leads and stuff are built into that. Break down like why is the price group getting 50 agents a week versus maybe somebody who isn't? What are you doing differently?
Yeah, of course. So again, it comes down to, in the beginning, I always treated this like a business, and and let's just address recruiting, because recruiting also too has this like weird taboo name to it sometimes, and it also, one of my pet peeves, right? So let's look at like any big corporation, Walmart, right? So how many people think Walmart hires on a monthly, yearly basis, right? Way more than I do, right? Or Amazon and stuff like that. Or if Walmart's like, hey, we got 50 new positions, we got to fill. They don't hire 50 people. They have to overhire to find 50 good people, and unfortunately, what's cool is we have a demand, right? We have more leads than our current agents could even come close to handling. And we also have a volume control to turn that demand up. So we have a need for more agents to help more clients because they're calling our TV commercials, right? So that's a great problem to be in. Now, as far as, how am I able to bring on 50 agents a week, right? So I've always put my agent's bank account before mine. That was always my saying, right? Any decision I've ever made is more important to my agent's bank account than my bank account. And I truly believe as long as I always put that first, right? Always build the trust. No one's ever can say David Price told me something and it wasn't true, right? They might say David Price told me something I didn't like it, but everything I say, like, it's always gonna be true, right? I'm just because I'm always gonna build the relationship with the people, because that's super important, right? Even if I told you I was going to give you $1,000 for something and you misunderstood a contest I had, like, I'll probably give you $1,000 just because I'd rather give you the $1,000 than someone else say David told me something and it wasn't true, right? Because to me, that's worth way more than $1,000, right? So just always putting people first. But then, just like any other job, or a company, like how does Walmart hire people, right? Job postings and stuff like that. It's really simple. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, you made $1 million last year because you recruit a lot. Like, okay, cool. It's not really hard to hire people looking for jobs. Right. It's actually right. Easier to sell an insurance. I don't know if you ever applied for a job before, but I know I'm hoping they call me and I'm doing my best on my interview and I'm showing up with a suit and I'm hoping I get hired. Right. It's the same thing. So it's just, we have the process to reach a lot of people. We get thousands and thousands of applicants a month. We got a strong recruiting team and we have a really, really simple, streamlined product. So it's easy to teach, right? I don't have to, I know you guys' worlds are a lot more complicated, right? So you guys are like, man, 50 new licensed agents. What the heck am I going to do with them, right? Where for me, it's like, hey, do you know how to work an iPad? All right, cool. You're like, 90% of what you need to know, right? And again, it's real simple. But yeah, I'm just trying to be everywhere all the time, treat people right all the time. And then the biggest thing that I think I do different is, a lot of people will teach you how to sell insurance. I want to teach you how to build a business, right? I want to teach you how to do exactly what I did. Like, I want you to duplicate me. And that's the thing. Like, you have the same opportunity to be me in my business, where you're not going to just be somebody else selling stuck in a place, right? And that starts duplicating. And because of that, we're bringing on like the amount of agents we're bringing on because the process of duplication, or the power of duplication.
Are you setting that standard of that expectation day one? Hey, this is a business opportunity. This isn't just you on an iPad slinging insurance.
Absolutely. And there's some people that have no desire to hire anyone. They just want to sell insurance, and there's no issues with that, right? We're not an MLM. We're not going to force anyone to recruit, or we're not going to ask for a list of friends or family or anything like that. But what I tell people is, like, the first thing I want you to do is learn how to issue $10,000 in a month. Once you know how to issue $10,000 a month, you can teach someone else how to do that. And if you want to, let me help you. And then I have a recruiting program. So once you issue $10,000 a month, you're able to jump on the recruiting program. And then we actually hire the people for you and help build your downline. So I think that's something else that I do very different. I hire probably about 30 people last week that my recruiting team hired and were passed to, managers or people I'm helping build up as managers. So my goal is I want to be known as the guy that help people build businesses in this industry. Not like, oh, you're a top producer. Good. Keep going. Keep making me rich. Keep making me rich. Right. I want to show you how to have some of the freedom that I have. I mean, I passively make six figures every single month for almost a year now. And that number has been going up. This is actually a record income month for me as well. I'm at like $151,000 in deposits, all passive, awesome. Right? I don't have shoes on right now as we speak. I'm wearing gym shorts, and that's not going to change, and I wear the same thing at work that I do when I work out in my garage afterwards, So again, my goal in the beginning was build something that would let me do what I want, where I want, how I want, and that's what I did, and that's what I want to show other people how to do and teach people.
It's good. It's good. So let's okay. This is perfect, right? Because with what David has, he's making it simple, right? Because honestly, guys, it is pretty, like, we tend to overcomplicate things. But here, even though this is very broad and very general, I want you to kind of help break it down, because you are like the epitome of this work ethic, right? Whether it's whatever it is, right? If you ain't willing to freaking get after it and go after it, you'll never get the results that you really are looking for, right? And David, again, man, like, when I think of work ethic and somebody who just freaking grinds and goes hard, and ultimately, like what you said, David Price does what he says he's going to freaking do, right? On a consistent basis. That's a big deal. Break down some of that work ethic piece and where maybe some of that mentality comes from. Maybe take us back a little bit. Like, hey, man, this is why I'm I go hard. It's why I have a wolf on my next to my name, right? And then just how that work ethic needs to continue in order to really scale and grow the business.
Yeah, the biggest thing is to you want to give it all you got. Like I look at it like in this industry, like somebody flew a helicopter over us and dropped a whole bunch of nuggets of gold, right? And we're all out there picking it up. And I'm out there picking it up from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. And some people are picking it up when it's convenient or at lunchtime or when they're done watching TV, right? And at the end of the day, all that gold's gone at some point, right? So that's why I look at it. Like, I want to take advantage of this opportunity why it's here, because right now it's great, right? There's a lot of money to be made here, a lot of freedom. You guys are well aware. And so to me, that's really important. And also, when I first started, dude, I had like tears in my eyes for like a year. Like, I worked every hour I was awake, right? Because I wasn't where I wanted to be. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't where I wanted to be. I actually made the most money I've ever made. I was in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. The least amount of money I could get paid while I was there was $5,000 a week. I wore flip-flops, cargo shorts, and I was chilling. I was in the Caribbean. I was in Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, and St. Croix, almost equal parts over a 7-month period. And I made about $250,000, right? Life was good. And they paid for all my food, paid for everything. It was literally like $250,000. I didn't even have to spend for anything. My stuff was in storage. So I went from that to like, I had to wear pants and go knock on people's doors and sell them final expense, right? And it was completely different, right? So for me, it was like, all right, cool. I look at it as like, I'm trying to get to a destination, right? Joey, you got it. What city are you in? Your beautiful office?
In Austin. Yep.
Austin, right? So if I want to go to Austin, Texas, I know the destination. I could walk out of my house. I could walk there. I could take my time. It could take me 3 years to get there. I could sprint there. I could jump on a plane. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I know what the destination is, it's up to me how long I want it to take to get there. Good. And so many people, I don't think they believe what their destination is, because if they knew what their destination was here in this business, they'd be sprinting to it. So that's why, like, dude, I told my girl, I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get a bigger house right now. Like, we're not in the house I want to be on. We don't living on the water. And I don't have a 40-foot boat behind my house right now. Right. And that's my destination. That's where I'm trying to go. And that's why I'm grinding every day. That's why I'm working from the time I wake up to the time I sleep. That's why I'm helping agents. I'm helping agents build. I'm looking for different ways. Like, we're doing 50 a week. Our goal is 100 agents a week, right? I'm trying to get to 100 agents a week. 100 agents a week is going to make me $100,000 a week, right? That's going to get me the house and the boat that I'm looking for. And that's a destination. So like, I'm sprinting to that destination. So I think a lot of times people just don't believe what they get accomplished. So that's why they don't work. Then it's also too, you got to look at your time. So when I was in Puerto Rico, I was making $40 an hour. In the beginning, there's no power anywhere. There's a ton of work. You could literally work as many hours as you're willing to work. So I was like, all right, cool. In that scenario, it's cost me $40 an hour to sleep. right? 40 times 24 hours is $480, right? Or something like that. My math's not that great, man. Look, I can still sell insurance, right? So every hour I sleep, every hour I sleep is going to cost me $40. So I'm like, dude, I could afford 40, 80, $160 a day for sleep, right? So what did I do? I worked till midnight, went to my hotel, and woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and got back to the office at 4 o'clock, right? Because I wanted to clock in 20 hours a day, which was $800 a day. Why? Because I didn't know when that was going to end, right? Once Puerto Rico gets the power out back, they don't need us anymore, right? So it's the same thing with us. So like I always tell an agent, if you can make $1,000 an hour and you're sitting on the couch watching TV for an hour, it's cost you $1,000 to sit on the couch and watch TV, right? I saw someone on Facebook and they're like, they went rafting or something, and someone was like picking on them, like, you're always broke. And like, it doesn't cost me anything to go rafting. No, it costs you a whole day of work. Mm-hmm. Right. It's not the rafting. It's that time that you could have been using to produce income. Right. So that's how I look at my time, and things are really, my time's super important. Right. When the money flows and you start really, really looking at that time.
That was something that I had to learn in my career, probably about, I'd say 8 to 10 years ago is when I really started to grasp it. I was making great income. Right. I was doing well, but I was just thinking about every time I made the sale. And I wasn't thinking, okay, well, this is the income that I'm at, my renewal base, everything all in, new business, renewal business, etc. Now break that down, and what is my hourly rate? What am I worth an hour when I'm working in my business versus when I'm sitting in Netflix or when I'm sitting rafting or on the golf course? And when I learned how to understand how much I was worth in any given hour, I knew how to, one, maximize my time that I was using, and two, I learned to spend time with the right people, right, that weren't bringing down my hourly rate, so to speak.
Right.
And I know there's a lot of agents out there that aren't taking the income that they built in insurance and breaking it down to what that is equated to on an hourly rate. And I love that you said that.
Yeah, I think the destination is super. So like we do the House of Dreams, David, you might have seen that here at Redwood. And so it's kind of just helping people really understand what do you actually want? What are you passionate about? Like, what are your dreams, right? Is it a 40-foot boat behind, like, and I think there's a lot of agents out there that are willing to go hard that just struggle with ever actually finding or seeing the destination. And I think that's where mentorship and leadership comes into play. Obviously, hey, you're building, right? You want to help them build a business. And I'm sure you've probably seen it when you're bringing on 50 agents, right? And you talk with, thousands, I'm sure. It's like, man, dude, if you could just figure out that destination, what are some things maybe that we can do as leaders to help our people really understand or just find the destination? And the destination it's kind of like the comps and it's not one size fits all, right? Like some people just want the ranch, right? And other people like Cody Askins want a skyscraper with a helipad on top. What are we doing to really help people find, or what can we do to help people kind of almost like unlock that in their head where it's like, oh, that's where I'm going? Or what do you do, David, to kind of help you like find your destination? Or is it ever changing? Is it always evolving?
Yeah, as you say that, you have me thinking. So I'm in my house right now, and I remember when we're building this house, and I was inside of it when it was just a skeleton of cinder blocks, man. And I remember getting emotional. One, I never lived in a house before, that wasn't rented, right? Or me on my own. I've always lived in apartments because I was always cheap and I didn't want to spend the money on a house or rent a house. I always rented an apartment. So one, it was my first time living in a house, and two, it was my first time being a homeowner. And at the time it was my destination, right? So, and your destination should always be changing, right? You should always be evolving and stuff like that, because we tend to put ceilings on ourselves, and I think a big part of it is the lack of belief. Most agents won't do what it takes to be successful, right? But if I told that same agent, listen, I'm going to pay you $100,000 a year salary, I need you to do this, 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 and this, they'll do it in a second, right? Because the money's guaranteed and they believe that they're going to receive it. But if they did those same things, they'd actually make a lot more money, or my biggest thing is, just like you guys all have a system, I'm sure, right? And every other person successful in this industry has a system that they follow. And I had an agent, and I couldn't get them to follow our system for a week. They wanted everything I wanted, I had, and this and that. And I asked them, I was like, listen, let me ask a question. Do you have a college degree? She's like, I got 2 of them. I was like, okay. So how long did it take you to get that degree? Did it cost you any money? So it cost her money. It took her like 6 years. I was like, so for 6 years, you went to school to get a degree that you weren't even sure what you're going to do with. You paid all this money, right? You didn't make any money. Did the college pay you to? No. And I can't get you to follow our system for a week. Like what sense does that make, right? And we're so programmed, right? People go to college all the time, and what are you going to do? I don't know. What's your major? I don't know yet, right? How much money you cost? I don't know how much it's going to cost, but I'm just going to pay the money. I'm just going to keep going. We can't get them to follow our systems for a week, or I don't want to pay for leads. Why not? Like I tell people, like, leads, that's your education. Get 20 leads every single week for a year and give me 40 hours a week for a year. Dude, you have a degree in selling insurance, which is going to make you more money than any other degree that I know of.
Yeah.
Right.
And you did it in a year's time.
Yep. And I think systems wise too, this is something that we've kind of found that, obviously when Redwood first started, we weren't going to be in, we're like a PNC IMO, right? Like we're an aggregator, but then we have this in-house side as well. Like we're selling, we're in the trenches too. But it's kind of funny to think back, like when we first started, we did not have the intention, like our system, even though now here's the thing, everybody should have the foundation, right? Have something that, hey, this is the foundation that you can build on. Because what we found that, hey, what worked for 5 does not work for 10. What works for 10 doesn't work for 20, right? And what works for 20 don't work for 50 plus, right? And so have a system, but have a system again that can, this goes back to replication, duplication, right? But then having a system that can grow with that scale, I think is super important. Maybe let's stay there a little bit. Like, David, what are you using system wise? Like, hey, I'm bringing on 50 agents. Is that something through Senior Life, or like what all is that?
Yeah. So, it's 4 years of being hyper focused on recruiting people. So it started off, I was paying $40 a week for 2 ZipRecruiter ads. Then scaled that up to where I had 150 ZipRecruiter ads. I was paying about $10,000 a month. And the thing is, again, when we start talking these like larger numbers, right? People are like, oh, I don't have that money. I don't have that money. My business funded my business, right? The only thing I ever paid out of my own pocket was like my $300 for my insurance license, right? After that, every single piece of commission covered my business, So my recruiting program right now is probably paying about $50,000 a month. Yeah. Right. And that's how we hire all these agents. That's going to give me 3 recruiters and ops managers, some VAs, the CRM system, text messages, ads. My marketer. So this is something that developed over the last 4 years, and I just keep on adding people to the team. So what I think a lot of people do in this business is, oh man, I just made my first $10,000 a month. All right, cool. What are you doing with that money? I'm going to New York, right? We're like, all right, cool. Well, I think you should take $2,000 and put it back in your business, So what I did is, as I made more money, I would take that money and figure out how to put it back in my business, right? So like over here, we're flipping money over here. So it's like, oh man, I made 10 grand in a month. Good. Let me put 2,000 more. Oh, look, I made $15,000 now because I put $2,000 more. So let me put $3,000 this month. And every month I would just look at that and keep putting more and more money back in. And, sometimes I got a little more aggressive because certain goals right now, I'm being a little aggressive because I'm trying to hit the 1.5 million mark, and pretty sure we'll be doing that by Friday. But ultimately, again, treating it like a business. Like, how are you going to be a business without any business expenses? One of my goals is for me to be spending $100,000 a month on ads, right? Because I know if I spend $100,000 a month on ads, I'm making some serious money, right?
Absolutely. Right. The metrics, how it works out.
Right? What's that?
The metrics, how that works out, right?
Exactly,
you already know how much you're going to get out of 50K. So 100 is just obviously double that or better.
Yeah, I already know the more money I put out, the more money comes back. And listen, this is somebody that was very, very cheap, right? Because I grew up poor. So when I had money, I held on to it because I didn't know when I was getting money again, right? Because I always grew up lack, not feeling like I had enough, right? I had everything I needed, of course, but feeling like I didn't have enough. So I had to like change my mind and program and you build it, right? I didn't start off spending $10,000 a month or $50,000 a month. I was like, all right, cool. Let me put $1,000 a month in my business. Like, oh, look at what happened. Now I'm making more money. Let me put a little bit more in. Oh, look, I'm making a little bit more money, right? And then teaching agents also how to invest in themselves, how to invest in their business, but guiding them with the experience that I learn, right? You don't have to make the same mistakes I've made, right? I've made a ton of mistakes to get where I'm at. I probably spent over $1 million to get where I'm at, right? So you get that experience when you work with me, right? So you're not just starting and figuring this out on your own. If you're coachable, right? There's other people too that, oh, Dave, that sounds really good, but I'm going to figure this out on my own. Like, all right, makes sense to me.
Right. It's like redo the wheel, right? Like what are we doing here, y'all? And I think, well, dude, the biggest mindset shift for us, and this I see this with so many agents, man, it's the expense versus investment mindset. For us, when Redwood started, dude, we were so tight that everything was an expense. Like we were so like, oh man, just another expense. And again, I mean, shout out Cody. We always shout out Cody because Cody we paid that dude. We signed up. We did mentorship with him for 30 grand. And I promise you, dude, we did not have $30,000. Mm-hmm. But man, that investment, when we finally like, you know what, dude, we are going to invest in our business and ourselves. And if this is what it's going to take, well, guess what? Month 3, when you pay, right, it comes back. And so by month 4, month 5, we'd already made that back. And then it's just prolonged, it's just kept going and kept evolving from there. I want to take a couple minutes here towards the end, and then we'll kind of get close to wrapping up here. David, think about your top agent or top agencies or top, whoever within the price group, right? What are the 3 things, right, that you see, or maybe let's take like your top 5, top 10. What are the 3 most consistent things with those top 10 people that like, hey, this is why they're winning, right? And again, let's maybe remove the leads or anything like what are they doing as business owners that are really helping them take it to the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing and the thing I'm the most proud about, right? I have a ton of production, making great money, helping a lot of people make money, but it's a culture. I know everyone says, oh, we got great culture. The people on my team want to help you. Right. They want to help people. Like they're putting people first. Like we're over principles or production. And, and the minute somebody comes on my team and they don't fit that, like I have a real hard conversation with them right away. Like we don't do that here, because to me, I want to protect that culture. So the people that are winning at a high level, they just really care about people. Right. They're putting the clients first. They're putting their agents first. Like they're not putting themselves first. They're not being selfish. They're willing to help anyone. It doesn't matter if they're financially connected with the person, if they're in a downline, upline, it doesn't matter. Like everyone's willing to help. So that's one thing. 2, super coachable. Right. Just the ability to say, hey, what should I do next? Seeking for more information, not staying the same. I read every single morning. I'm not a fan of reading. I've never been a fan of reading. I'm not a good reader, right? I didn't do great in school, but I also don't like being poor, right? I want to learn new things, right? I had to pick which one did I not want more, right? Was it reading or I did not want to read or not be poor, right? So I read every day. I'm always looking for more information, right? And that's something else that's super big that my successful people are doing. And they're plugged in. It's like you got to be open-minded. People talk about ego a lot. And when they talk about ego, I feel like they're just so off, right? Ego's like, they think it's like, oh, you think you're better than someone else. And to me, like ego is when you're like, I know, right? And when I told you, when I started this business, even when I thought I knew something, I just pretended I didn't, right? So the people that are successful with me, they're letting go of their ego, right? They're coming with I don't know attitude. They're being coachable. They're doing things like, listen, if you never made $100,000 in a year, that's because your thought process didn't allow it. That means you need to find somebody that has done it and used their thought process. And guess what? It's not going to make sense to you because you haven't done it, right? It's not supposed to make sense. Like you have to realize that. And the ego is what stops that from happening. So those are some of the really important things that they do.
Where's the line that we draw? This is another thing where I struggle. So I'm curious how you do it. Because it's like you got to meet in the middle, right? So where's the line that hey, they're super coachable, but you have to be very direct and coach them. They're not seeking out as much, so it's always kind of like coming back. Where is that line draw of like, okay, hey, look, man, at this point, I want you to try and seek something else out versus every single thing I have to come to you. Now, again, they're listening, but they're also not being proactive and trying to, like, where is that line to draw that, right? And I don't know if maybe that's just me being a shit leader, and maybe it is, right? Hey, I got a bunch of coachable people, but I have to freaking tell them everything. And I'm not saying that about my guys, but just in general, I know, right? I'm like, shit. Hopefully they got their headphones on.
Rewind this.
But where is that? Where's that line though? You know, where it's like, all right, man, I need you. Like, can you kind of figure this out versus me giving everything?
So for me personally, I don't mind, right? So one, I'm really direct. I have a reputation of being direct. You know, people might ask me a question that, you know, maybe that's a home office question, right? Or maybe it's in the agent manual, and my answer might be like I'm not sure what it say in the agent manual, right? You know, so I'm real dry with that stuff and everything. And again, it's just teaching people to look in the right places, but more importantly, it's teaching them how to lead as well. Right. One of the biggest things is when somebody is a brand new manager, they tend to spend too much time on the people that aren't spending enough time on themselves. Right. So what I have to teach them is how to be real short with those people and let these people prove themselves, you know, like, hey, I'm fully committed. Hey, I'm here. Hey, look, I'm on the meetings. Hey, look, I'm you know, we have a virtual call center that people come to work. I tell managers, like, dude, if you're on the virtual call center working and they're messaging you and calling you and you're not there, you need an auto reply that says, hey, I'm on the virtual call center. Find me there if you need something. Right. There's no reason for you to be picking up this phone and stopping working for somebody who's not willing to show up on a Zoom where we have some of the top producers in the country working. Like, you know, I know you're real big into sports, Joe, but like, dude, if you get a chance to play basketball with the best basketball players in the country, and you say, no, I'm just going to stay home and shoot some hoops in my driveway, like, it makes absolutely no sense at all. Right. So that's the biggest thing. So you can ask me all the questions you want, but the minute you you don't take the advice, right? You can't ask me a question and then be like, all right, well, let me ask Joe and see what he thinks. Oh, let me ask Tony see what he thinks. Because now you're just looking for the answer you want. Right. You know, so as long as you're being coachable, I'm an open book. And to me, like, that's my thing. That's what I enjoy the most. I enjoy helping people become leaders. You know, because, you know, like I said, a lot of people will teach you how to write business, but I want to teach you how to build a business. And that's what really drives me. That's where it's the most fun. You know, because at the end of the day, like, if someone was asked, you know, I think what's that saying? It's like, you know, if you had $10 million in your bank account, what you'd be doing right now? Like, my answer is exactly what I'm doing. Right.
That's why I have 10 million.
But I'm like, dude, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing. Right. Because I really, really enjoy it. Like, you know, I look at this, I don't look at it as work anymore. You know, some person likes restoring that old classic car. Right. And like, to me, that's work. But to that person, it's not. And that's what I feel like I am building something, like I'm building a model. I'm building a project. You know what I mean? Like, to me, this is fun. I'm helping other people build businesses. Like, I look at every person like it's a franchise. Like, every agent that comes in there, that's a separate business that I could help make successful and get a piece of it for life. And then you could do the same thing. I mean, that's a pretty amazing situation we're in with no franchise fees.
Absolutely. Right. When it comes to coachability, is that something that you can teach someone, or is that something that you have to bring?
That's a tough one. You know, for me, you know, I shared earlier that, you know, I struggled with drug addiction for most of my life. And the reason why I struggled with it so long is because I was still a high performer. I still worked real well, still made money. So it lets you do drugs for a lot longer, right? Because your life didn't fall apart. But eventually it did. And it took a long time. It took, you know, I don't know, about 20 years, right? 20 years before, like, me to actually hit, you know, what I call my rock bottom. And, you know, one thing that I learned in a 12-step program was to be coachable, right? It was learning, like, one of the first things they said is your best thinking got you here. I was like, oh crap. You know, and that's what I try to tell people. Like, dude, like, you came to me broke. You're complaining about you don't have enough money for leads. You're complaining, like, dude, your best thinking got you here. Like, stop thinking, you know. And again, I'm real straight. I'm real direct with people. So they're either gonna like it and learn from it, or they're gonna not waste anyone else's time, including themselves at that point. Because if you're not gonna be coachable and you're not gonna follow the system, like, you're not going to be successful as an entrepreneur, period. It doesn't matter what industry. And like, you're better off having a job. That's what jobs are for. The people that don't want to be coachable. I don't know if I can teach people. Maybe like I said, maybe I do real good with recovering drug addicts. You know what I mean? Because they've lost everything, and they learn the principle that, like, hey, my best thinking got me there, and let me let someone else think for me.
If you don't mind, maybe getting a little vulnerable, what was that rock bottom for you?
Man, so all right. I don't know if I shared this before on a Zoom. So this is a syndicate special right here.
Come
But
on.
yes, I was actually in an apartment. It was my friend's apartment. He abandoned it basically. Had no power. It was New Jersey. It was the winter. I didn't have a car anymore at the time. I was out of work, dead broke, and I was just I woke up one day. I was like, all right, this is it. Like I got to change. And I was with a girlfriend, and she had a car. She had an old Jeep that barely broke down all the time. I was like, hey, we're going to Louisiana. And she's like, what? I was like, yeah, we're going to Louisiana, pack the bags. And that was like me trying to just figure out something new. I didn't know what exactly yet, but I knew it was time to get out of New Jersey. And that was the beginning of my journey to get better, and I actually went to a 12-step meeting. I took a taxi there, and I was bringing her there because I thought she had a problem. See, in my head, I didn't have a problem. Right in my head, I thought I was still in control, and that was the issue. And I sat in that 12-step meeting, and I started crying, and I didn't know why I was crying, but I started crying, and that was the last I'd never used again since then. And did a lot of work up to there, but it was like that was when I realized that it was time for me to start doing things differently.
Why Louisiana?
So my father lived in Louisiana, and I was working the oil business in New Jersey, and I know Louisiana had oil rigs, and I worked out in Africa on a military base when I was 25 years old, or actually 20 years old, I think it was. No, 25 years old. And I met a lot of guys that worked on oil rigs, and they said they made like $100,000 a year working like 6 months of the year. I'm like, dude, I want to make $100,000 a year working 6 months, and they work off like the coast of Brazil and stuff like that. So I was looking for a place to go, one, and then two, money was always important to me in a career and getting back to work. So I thought Louisiana would give me the best opportunity for that. What I didn't realize is working in an oil rig off of Louisiana is much different than working off of oil rig off Brazil and stuff like that. They don't get paid as well. They don't have the same rotations and stuff like that. And I actually took my first job, and this is a big one here. And this is about like doing whatever it takes. And that's what I've always done. But my first job when I got clean was I worked cleaning toilets and washing dishes on a production platform for minimum wage, $7.25 an hour. And I've never worked minimum wage before. My job before that was $70,000 a year salary, full benefits, car allowance in New Jersey. That was my job before that, right? But I knew I just needed to get offshore, meet some people, make some connections, and I would get a better job. Right. So I was willing to take whatever. So like literally I'm mopping floors and washing dishes and cleaning toilets for $7.25 an hour, in my mid 30s. And that was, that was 8 years ago about. Right. So just think about it. That was 8 years ago to put stuff. And like I said, I mean, as of today, I'm at like $151,000 deposited in my bank account this month. You know what I mean? And that was 8 years ago. Right. I've already made more money this year than 99% of insurance agents. Because of this business. And again, because being coachable and doing whatever it takes and just be willing. Like I was like, oh, I ain't washing dishes. I ain't working for minimum wage. I was like, no, if that's the first step I got to do to get to the next step, like that's cool. And that's what happens. These new agents, they start and they want to be rich right away. They don't want to do what it takes. I tell people, listen, stop trying to make money and start working on learning and helping people, and the money will start coming. And they get so focused on the wrong things, and that's why they'll never be successful. Right. Good job, Tony, getting that out of me, man. Proud of you.
But how powerful are those humble beginnings, right? And what they teach you, and that's some of mine are like I call them like the best worst experiences, because the experiences, even though at the time is like, oh man, but it's man, are they invaluable, right? And we can always go back to those, and ultimately, right, it's you changed your destination. So let's kind of wrap up here. What's David Price's where's your destination right now? I mean, you're about to hit 1.5 damn near this month. So what are you going for, $2 million a month? What's everything on the horizon for David Price?
Yeah, of course, man. And one thing, just touching on those humble beginnings and this and that, I look at everything like, I like movies, I like stories, and all this stuff, right? All my beginnings, everything I went through, like it builds my story, right? It builds my credibility. And again, if you're a brand new agent, like I remember when I was out in the field, I got a flat tire, and or actually I pulled up to a house and I heard air rushing out of my tire, and I was out in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, crap, I don't want to deal with this. So I drove to find a gas station. I found like a plug kit. The plug kit broke on me. It's August. I'm in Florida. I'm like hot as heck. My khaki pants got dirt all over them. And I'm like, dude, this is such a cool story. Everyone else would be upset. I'm like, this is such a cool story because I'm going to fix this flat tire somehow. And I'm going to sell a policy before I go home. And I'm going to tell that story. So when an agent calls me and says I got a flat, I'm like, yeah, I did that too. Right. So it's super important to like look at this adversity and like, this is your chance to help someone else with that same problem. But as far as destination, I will be the largest final expense agency in the country. Looking, our goal is to do 5 million a month of issued business every single month, which would make us the largest. I want to have dozens and dozens of 6-figure, earners. I want to have more 6-figure earners than Apple, I would say, right? Right. As far as an agency. And I just want to build like a really strong culture, man, of a lot of people that just have a lot of freedom where we could travel together, do a lot of things together. I think of like the Wolf of Wall Street, but without the drugs, and all the fun they had and stuff like that, just really want to enjoy it. I'm 42 years old. And my goal is to really, by the time we're 50, man, to really live a life with no limits with me and my team and everyone that helped us get here, which also includes my employees too, man. Just want to take care of them because they do a really good job supporting us and making it all happen. So definitely want a big giant house on the water that every time I pull up to it, man, I just have goosebumps. Like, man, I did this, man. That's a cool house.
I've seen you post and like, until I get here.
Yes.
I'm not done
That's
yet.
It. Yeah. And I know exactly which one you're talking about. It's got the pool and it's got the water, man, where you're just sitting there because you go to this place on vacation, right? And you sit down and you like look out into water and it's like, man, this is beautiful. So like, why can't this be my life? Like, why does it have to be a vacation? Why do I have to travel somewhere special to get that feeling? Why can't I wake up to that feeling every day? And that's my thought process.
Did you do that a lot along the way as far as to keep driving? You use kind of visual cues and visual thoughts of where your destination looked like, a vision board or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm a big daydreamer. I'm not, the vision board. I'm not a big fan of like going to find a magazine and cut out these little things that you want to put on your vision. But I think you should have what I spent a lot of time on Zillow. Right. And I spent a lot of time. So like, I'm looking at these houses, like I'm looking at the price of these houses. I'm looking at like what the mortgage would cost. Right. If you want a $20 million house, $20 million house or $4 million house, it's going to cost you $20,000 a month mortgage. Right. Like putting real numbers along different things. But yeah, no, I'm a daydreamer, man. So I am always dreaming and feeling it. Like, I could put myself in a car and feel about driving down the road and stuff like that. So yeah, and that is what drives me and pushes me for sure. I got a big imagination.
Fantastic. Well, man, we're getting on the hour here. This has been fantastic. Okay. I would definitely say you were on the right track to hit that destination of 5 million a month. Just keep doing your thing, brother. You know that.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been a huge pleasure. Certainly thank you guys for tuning in. If an agent's out there and he's looking for some help, right? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you go to my website, tpglife.com. You can schedule a call right there with my team. You can email me directly at david@tpglife.com. And I'm on all the social medias, David Price Official, Instagram, Facebook, and got a little YouTube channel myself, David Price Official. Hopefully you Google David Price Insurance by now and find me as well.
Absolutely. And even if you're an agent out there and you're not necessarily looking to work with David, I'd highly encourage you to follow him because it's inspiring to follow and it might be able to help you find your destination. So thank you again for coming on. This has been fantastic.
Yeah. Really
Thank
good,
you, Tony.
Hey, it's the peak of the week, y'all, right? It's winning on Wednesday. The week ain't over. Let's put your people first, right? Let's be consistent. Let's work freaking hard. Let's go all in. But ultimately, let's focus on that destination. So when you are running hard, you know where you're running to. So thank you, guys. Hope everybody has an amazing rest of the week. It's winning on Wednesday. Thank you, David. Everybody have an amazing day. We'll talk to y'all later.
Thanks, Joe.